Welcome everybody to Expressway. Nearly at the end of the year. Now this is Safety Month. So in the consideration of everybody's safety, you are fine if you are sitting in social distancing space not to wear a mask, or if you are drinking or eating, that is fine, but do consider that there is still a pandemic out there and there is still a risk, so lots of hand washing. If in the case of emergency we have to depart this building, there are clear signs to the exit. You will follow me or one of the precinct staff who will direct you exactly where to go. This is interactive. We have people, I hope, there on Zoom. Is that correct, Daryl? Fantastic, and we welcome the people who are in Zoom land in the regions. I believe we've got a couple down in Canberra today, or ACT, zooming in. A great, fantastic Brisbane firm. We'll hear about them later. And we have got people from North Queensland and around the state, so that is what it is all about, connecting people. So we have some wonderful speakers. The format today is that we are going to ask you to introduce yourselves and a little bit about your business and any great achievements, outcomes that you have had over the last month or so. We then have some terrific speakers. We're going to learn what is available to your businesses from health and safety and also work cover. We're going to have a case study. I love case studies, particularly today's case study, because we learn about how real businesses have got to where they are, the opportunities they have in front of them, the challenges they've had to get to where they are. And let's face it, there is no smooth ride in business. Innovation in business is about being on the cutting edge. And sometimes things work and sometimes they don't, and there is always help to get over those hurdles. So that's what we hope to learn about today. Before we go further, I'll begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of this land, wherever it is that you may be, and pay respect to the elders, past, present and future. And we extend our most welcome to any peoples here of Aboriginal and Torres Strait descent. We certainly wish to encourage and support people of First Nations to be part of the innovation economy. I'm Ian Gilbert. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. You've probably heard that before. I'm with Advanced Queensland, with innovation. I would like to start by thanking the precinct for providing this wonderful venue, but also to thank the partnering organisations who support Expressway, and that is Regional Development Australia Brisbane and the TAFE Small Business Solutions. So I did say we're going to do some introductions. You know who I am. I'd love to know who you are. I'm sure everybody else around the room would love to know who you are. Somewhere or another, we have the beautiful John. Where's John? Come on, do a curtsy. John is going to hold. Here we go, do a curtsy, that's it. John is going to take the other microphone here because we don't wish you to be all sharing the microphone. And just keep in mind as you do the introduction of yourself that you are going to be introducing yourself to other people in the room, but you're also going to be introducing yourself to people who are in Zoom land. So there's a challenge for you. And this will be recorded, and of course we post this to the Expressway LinkedIn pages and a few other places. So nice smiles, good clear voice, and we'll hopefully be able to relay that information to everybody. So I'm going to ask John to do a first introduction just so he can show exactly how it started.
Thank you, Ian. My name is John Hebride. I'm from TAFE Queensland. My responsibility there is to look after the commercial sales and small business solutions. There are areas of TAFE where we engage with businesses to understand their training needs, their requirements and their plan going forward, and work with them to develop their staff. So essentially.
Gotcha. Hello everyone, I'm Michael O'Brien. I'm from Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland. I'm in the HR section, so I'm the Senior IR Specialist from Chamber of Commerce. So my job is to help members out and non-members and small businesses across Queensland in all areas of HR, safety, workers' compensation, which I'll talk a bit about later. So thank you very much.
Now, those of you who have been here before know what this is. It makes a noise like that. Now, if you start touting, you are welcome to talk about your business and the opportunity, but if you start touting business or you ramble on, means shut up and sit down.
You got the message?
Yeah. I'm Davis Blumentals from Certify Network. I'm giving this the case study today, so you'll probably learn too much of me by the time I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Narelle Blumentals, co-founder of Certify Network, my husband. I manage the compliance documents for our builders and just generally admin work for Certify Network. Thank you.
And John, you might have to just stand a bit on the other side there so that you're not your back in the camera. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Richard Christer. I'm a philosopher and I'm author of the Facebook business page Ingenuity Through Philosophy, where I write on the philosophy of creativity. I help businesses be more creative and innovative by teaching them techniques for being more creative and innovative. Thank you.
Well done, Ed, well done.
Hi, I'm Howard Neilsen and I run the Sustainable Startup Hub, and got us at the end of the session today to talk to you, so I'll do that in more detail then. But we've had a good week this week with launching some new tools to enable businesses to understand where they're up to with the whole climate challenge and where they might head with that. So it's been an interesting week, as you would imagine.
Hi John, my name is Pushpa. I've got 3 organizations. So the first one works on business growth strategies, leadership and personal professional development. The second is a charitable organization called the Women's Mentoring Foundation, and we work starting from grief through to healing, through to creating self-leadership, so there's always a positive outcome. The third is my speakers forum, but even in that we work on a lot on the business side of things, and this year I'm the elected leader for Mental Health Foundation Australia here in Queensland.
Thank you, John. Hi, my name's Steve Shout and I work at TAFE Queensland also in the commercial sales, so I work with John. I usually look after the aviation program at TAFE Queensland, and our big news for the month is we finalised a contract which will take us through to the end of 2023, which is very exciting.
It has been a big job to get it to that, hasn't it, Stephen?
G'day, John. Hi, my name is Richard Taylor. I'm one of the team leaders within the Advisory Field Services Unit, which is part of Workplace Health and Safety Queensland, which is within the Office of Industrial Relations. So I'll have to be giving you a brief presentation a bit later today about what we do and what we can do to help. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy. I'm a leadership coach and facilitate teams and individuals to create high-performing leadership cultures in small and medium-sized businesses.
Hi, I'm David Toohey. I'm involved in a few different things. My core is commercial management consulting in financial operational and strategy. I've also got a platform called Mind for Me, which is a community-based platform to help people help each other, and partner with Sheldon here in a new digital platform called Health Referral.
Oh, well done. I'd love to see that.
Yes, good morning everybody. My name is Sheldon Morey Consulting, and I'm a technology coach. And I help small businesses to align their technology with their business operational strategies. As David just said, we're in the process of launching the health referral platform, which helps health professionals basically build their LinkedIn profiles and allows them to get better referrals and operate their businesses more effectively.
Thanks, Sheldon.
Well balanced. Good morning everyone, my name's Andrew Mills. I'm the new event coordinator for Business Station. We've just launched a digital solutions program for small business, so my role will be connecting everyone in Queensland, Northern Territory and Western Australia, bringing small businesses together to solve some problems for them.
Welcome along, Andrew. 3 weeks in the job and he's still got black hair. Give it time.
Thanks, John. My name's Lisa Gill. I'm the franchise owner of BNI. It stands for Business Network International. We're an international networking organisation, and I have the franchise from Bulimba to Toowoomba. And last year, my 300 odd members passed around $13 million between themselves and helping each other grow their business, whether it be small, medium or large.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, good morning. My name's James Bennett. I work for an internet service provider based in Brisbane called ECN, and we specialise in business.
Hi, Josh Thistlewaite, work for ECN Technology. James and I are colleagues. We specialise in telecommunications, VoIP phone platforms and fibre internet and private networks.
Yeah. And John surfs too, obviously.
Hi John, I'm Dr. Peter Ellis from Your Silent Partner. We specialise in organisation structure, which is for growing businesses that understand what they're doing but don't understand the business aspects and the administration aspects. It's the difference between staying where they are and being successful.
And if you go back and look at last month's Expressway, which the video is on Expressway, you'll hear Peter explaining what he does. It was well done. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks. I'm Preston Lee. I work for a company called Patching Associates, Acoustical Engineering. We deal with developing new noise measurement and modeling techniques to help people work safe in a noise environment and work safe generally preventing noise and hearing impacts.
Terrific.
Good morning, my name is Greg Cree. I am the founder and chair of a social enterprise charity called Housing for Change, which builds housing for older single women, women out of DV and single mums. And they pay no more than 30% of their household income. And unlike everyone else here, I know nothing about IT.
You can join the club, mate. I'm certainly computer dyslexic myself.
Hi, my name's Rachel. I'm from Phoenix Jarrah Grant Specialists. We're a fairly new, innovative grant company. We work with all sorts of grants, business, charities, and we work with all grants, government and business grants, all the way through the grant process.
Well, that's terrific because there is an incredible number of grants out at the time from both state and federal government supporting businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19, with a particular emphasis on tourism and hospitality businesses. So get the word out. It's limited time to apply. There is sums from a few $1,000s up to $30,000 quite readily available. All they are is means tested if you meet the criteria. you get the grant. They're not competitive.
Good morning, Stuart Jones from Lightboards Australia. We produce and manufacture a lightboard for schools, colleges and universities and complete studios. We kicked off unofficially a soft launch in September, and we've had a few good wins already with different colleges and universities around Australia. We'll officially launch in January next year. Thank you.
Well, congratulations for a new business to already be in what I consider to be one of the toughest markets into the schools market. That is a great achievement, so well done.
Hi everyone, my name is Tristan Sinisia. I'm a digital business advisor at Business Station, and as Andrew mentioned, we're running the Digital Solutions Program, which is a federally funded program, and we need to serve 3,608 small businesses across Queensland, so a huge amount of work, and we'll be doing that with 18 of our internal advisors and a further 60 kind of ad hoc specialist advisors to cover off on all those other needs.
Well, get in and register now, because it would be a real shame to be the 3,609th business and miss out.
I want to get into that network. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Paul Garcia with Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland. We're a not-for-profit chamber that's been around, well, actually the oldest chamber in Queensland, over 160 years. I'm the chamber relationship manager, so I get to go around and look at all the chambers in Queensland, figure out where they are in their journey and help them thrive and succeed and help make them more meaningful to their membership.
Thanks, John. Nagaraj Gopisetti. I'm the Interim Operations Manager from RDA Brisbane. We're proud to be part of the Expressway network, but RDA Brisbane is a federally funded initiative which brings together opportunities to work with the three layers of government, fed, state and local, to work with businesses to enhance regional investment, regional awareness and create growth opportunities.
Thank you for that. And we haven't heard from the man behind the cameras. Let's hear a little bit about Darbeth, if we could, before we move on to those wonderful people in Zoom land.
Sorry, we're a little... those of you who are here regularly know Steve. He's out getting his jab today, so we're all over the place like the magic breakfast, trying to fill in and do the things that he normally does for us. Darbeth specialises in business tech and communications. More and more lately, even before COVID, that meant a lot of video stuff. So we've got a lot of live streaming gear and all those sorts of things. And I think our big announcement in this last month is live streaming. You can see it sort of works instantly, and it's like they do on the TV stage. You get your news and current affairs and those sorts of things out. And we are now taking that same techniques into the studio to produce what we call quick turnaround videos. So instead of waiting days and weeks to get a fully edited video, we can get a fairly good quality video out and done by the time we leave the studio. So that's launched Thursday of last week, so that's our big announcement for this month.
It is really an advancing technology. We certainly are fortunate to have Darbeth as a long-term member of Expressway. Now, Darbeth does get a small honorarium towards the expenditure of doing this technology for us, but really it's done out of heart and soul. And somewhere, Beth is up in the back room and she's doing some monitoring of the sound so that she's relaying to Darryl, so we know we're getting the sound quality right. So we'll hopefully hear a little bit more from Beth later. Let's see who we've got on live. Hello, have we got volume? We're just trying to get some audio. Okay.
My name is Erin, and we manufacture for
like to help those ecosystems grow and do well together, get project down on time and budget. My role is visionary director, and I'm looking to work with various professionals to work with advanced manufacturing, we take Queensland, and the latest thing that we're really proud of is we have our first finalist apprentice in HIA building, so we're very proud of that.
And you're Gold Coast based, aren't you, Karen, or something south of Brisbane? Loganholme, yes. We've seen you here in the physical, so it's wonderful that you can connect online. Thanks for coming along. And who else have we got? And give Karen a round of applause, because I think it's doing a mighty job. Thank you very much. The audio wasn't brilliant there, but I believe you are in ACT today, is that correct? Where are you zooming from today? In Canberra, yeah. Well, thank you for coming along today. Well done. Fantastic. Now, do we have Vicky there?
Yes, we do.
Hello, Vicky. Do we have video?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Tell us about yourself, Vicky.
I live in Queensland, Western Queensland, and we have a few businesses. We've got a stock feed and feed supplement business, which is a factory that has about 9 or 10 employees. We have a rural business that supplies farmers with feed, and a fabricating business fabricates stuff for farmers. There's the 10 of us in that business, and then we have a couple of farms as well, raising properties. So, yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. And whereabouts are you located? Mitchell. So way out west, and I do hope that you pass on to other innovative businesses out in Mitchell that this event is available to them. So thank you for coming along, Vicky. And is that Picard? Oh, I can't see that clearly. Picard, are you there? He's not. Oh, that's you. Why? Is there any more there? We got Kate. Kate Twist, are you there?
Sorry, I'm having a fair bit of trouble with everything like that.
Welcome to the world of Zooming. We're all learning.
I'm not very proficient at it, I'm
Tell us about yourself and your business.
my husband and I are beef producers on a property in northwest of Mitchell, and I'm also helping Vicky actually with her workplace health and safety with her businesses.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming along, and I hope you enjoy the proceedings. You're most welcome. Give a round of applause for Kate. Well, thank you. That was actually very smoothly done. Usually we find that somebody wants to rabbit on for 10 minutes and we run over time, but actually we're pretty spot on time today, so give yourselves a round of applause. Brilliant. We do that. When we get to Expressway, how many people don't realise what other businesses are around and the relationships that have been formed over the years, because we've had over 4,000 attendances at Expressway now, and a lot of business partnerships, a lot of supply chains, a lot of mentoring and coaching opportunities have come out of these meetings. So we do that so people can listen in, hone in on the people that they want to speak to at the networking after the meeting. And I hope you've picked up some points there. So, we are here to talk today about health and safety. And I have got Michael O'Brien here, who's going to tell us all about what is done in work health and safety. Now, I've just got to find where he is. No, actually, we've got first up, and I didn't update my page. Mr. Taylor. Richard, isn't it? It is. Sorry, right? I was just looking at my notes there, and because Richard has come in at the very last minute, unfortunately John Lee was going to be here and had a funeral to go to today, so Richard Taylor is from Worksafe Queensland. He and his team work with a diverse range of employers to implement a tailored approach to injury prevention and management. Now, I'm a work health and safety advisor, so this is something passionate to me. I spent a lot of time in the private sector doing business re-engineering, and it appalled me at times. The lack of safety, the lack of concern, the lack of implementation of preventative measures in business. What appalled me was the disrespect to workers, but also the disrespect to the business, because it goes hand in hand, total synergy between caring for the workers and productivity, increasing profits, increasing business growth. It is just common sense. So here to tell us how Work Health and Safety, Worksafe, is going to support businesses in Queensland. They do a mighty job. Please welcome Richard.
Good morning. Just going to bring up the presentation. That's it. Okay, good morning. So thanks Ian for inviting me along today. Like Ian said, my manager John should have been here today, but unfortunately he was unable to come, so he's asked me to come along in his place today. So like I said in the introduction, my name is Richard. I'm one of the team leaders within what we call the Advisory Field Services Unit, so AFS, which is part of Workplace Health and Safety Queensland. And I'm just going to give you a bit of a rundown in relation to the program that we run, IPAM, which is Injury Prevention and Management. So I don't know if a lot of you have heard about this program, but it's been going now for over 10 years. Actually, this year is its 10th anniversary, and we've had some really good outcomes. So we've had come up to about 2,500 employers, Queensland employers, run through the program with some really positive outcomes. So just wanted to give you a bit of a rundown on the program. Okay, so what I'll be running through is, I guess, in relation to some pathways to compliance. So when we think about health and safety, we're always thinking about reaching that level of compliance. And there's a number of different ways that we can do that. A lot of people relate compliance or Workplace Health and Safety Queensland with the inspectorate. So they may have had interactions with the inspectors who might have come out to a workplace to possibly address a complaint that might have been made or to investigate an incident. And there may be notices issued, prohibition notices and improvement notices and that type of thing. And a lot of times that's what people relate to workplace health and safety. However, there is another pathway to, oh, it's disappeared off here. There is another pathway that we can follow to reach compliance, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So it's more around the advisory services that we can offer employers to help them reach that level of compliance. So I'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about how we can scale the resources and programs that we have in place to the size and maturity of the business. Thank you. So we can actually scale what we do depending on how much an employer already has in place, how large they are, because understandably you're not going to expect a mum and dad smaller business with maybe 1 to 10 employees to have possibly the same safety management systems to a multinational organisation. So it's about scaling the resources and the safety advice that we provide to that business. With the program, I'll talk about how we are systems focused. So it's not about going out to a workplace and spotting hazards, which is more so where possibly the inspectorate can come in, identify a hazard, issue a notice, get that fixed. We're looking more at how does your safety management system address the hazards and the associated risks within the workplace. So it's around the system, not just spotting hazards like that. Workplace Health and Safety Queensland, automatically we go to the inspectorate. That's one pathway. However, the other pathway is that advisory aspect. So the IPAP program, like I said, has been going now 10 years. It's a fully funded program. So it's a joint program between WorkCover Queensland and Workplace Health and Safety Queensland. The program started about 10 years ago when WorkCover identified that there were a number of employers who were having maybe more injuries or incidents than the industry. So they had some employers whose workers' compensation premiums were capped at what they call twice the industry rate. So they were having a lot of claims, it was costing a lot of money. So what WorkCover did was they identified this and said, well, why don't we offer them the assistance of an advisor to go out and work with those employers to identify some opportunities to improve that. It's fully funded, so there's no cost to the employer. If we were to charge for the services we provide, as a consultant or whatever it might be, you're looking at possibly tens of thousands of dollars. But this is a fully funded program. So it's there to assist you, the employers, to identify opportunities to improve. With what we do, like I said, we have a team of about, I think it's up to about 27 advisors across Queensland, from down on the Gold Coast through to Cairns and beyond. So we're across Queensland. So it doesn't matter if you're out west or on the coast, we're there able to offer that assistance. We're all advisors, so that's where we differ. We're not inspectors. We don't have what we call inspector powers, so we can't issue notices. All we can do is offer guidance, support and advice to help employers. Clearly, if we're out there and we offer some guidance or advice, it's probably in that employer's best interest to take it. But ultimately, the program is 100% voluntary, so employers can refer themselves through to the program to say, hey, look, we would like someone to come out and help us review our current systems to see where there may be some gaps or opportunities to improve. So I've spoken about the different pathways to compliance. One of the big aspects is what we call due diligence, and this is possibly a term that a lot of you have heard. I'm not going to go into this in huge detail, but it's just essentially, as an employer, understanding what the operation of the business is and what the risks associated with that are. Having up-to-date current knowledge of health and safety issues within your organisation. So It's something that's changed a little while ago now, where officers of a business have to have a good understanding and implement something to help address the issues within the workplace. Whereas in the past, maybe a director may not have had so much involvement within the safety of an organisation. That level of responsibility and obligation has certainly gone up. And you see a lot in the news, and I've got a couple of example stories later on, but you see a lot of it in the news about directors being possibly prosecuted and having personal fines against them in the event of an incident. So for the business, it's about making sure that as a business, we're providing our workers with the appropriate resources to be able to do what they need to do. And that is looking at, have we identified the hazards within the workplace? Have we assessed the risks associated with those hazards? And have we implemented controls? So it's about looking at all those different steps. Reporting. So is there a reporting mechanism within the organisation? So if one of your workers possibly identifies a hazard or experiences an incident or a near miss, do they have a process to be able to report that through to the organisation? And then what happens? So it's about following those steps. And this is all part of your safety management system. And then that point 5 talks about the processes for legal compliance. So things like if there is a serious incident or event, there's an obligation to notify Workplace Health and Safety Queensland. So what they call a notifiable event or notifiable incident. So there's certain criteria that make an incident notifiable. So it's about being aware of what that criteria is. So making yourself aware. And that last point there talks about a system. So this is your system, your safety management system. It should comprise all this. So we've got a couple of stories here that came out in the papers of what can happen when things go wrong. The first story about the banana farm worker, you can see there, he was involved in a workplace event or incident and sustained a back injury. And he then proceeded to pursue a common law claim, what they call a common law claim. And Michael might be able to go into that in more detail. So with workers' compensation, you know, if you're an employee and you employ people within Queensland, you have a workers' compensation policy. That then covers your workers if they're involved in a workplace event. So this unfortunate person was involved in an incident, sustained a back injury, ended up suing the employer for negligence. So you pursue a normal claim, and then once the claim is finished and there's no further treatment that workers can receive, they've got the choice then to pursue what they call a common law claim. And that essentially they're suing the employer for negligence. And so in this case, you can see there, they ended up winning $480,000 because there was no training provided to that worker on doing that task. There was no evidence of that. So, and that's what you've got to bear in mind. When things do go wrong, it's about what evidence do you have to support what you say you're doing. So it's not when things are going great and we've got that, you know, open communication with our workers and training and all that. It's about having some evidence of what you're doing as well. The mushroom farm accident, that was, you can see there, they were fined $120,000. So that's a workplace health and safety prosecution fine. That doesn't include the possible common law claim as well on top of that. So like Ian mentioned, all these things, if we're not doing the right thing and people are injured, it can cost the organisation a lot of money. I've been working in this industry now for over 20 years through workers' compensation, common law. I've acted on behalf of employers in common law, through to prevention in workplace health and safety. And I've seen the costs, not only to the injured worker, obviously, but to the organisations whose premiums steadily rise. So the more claims you have, the more costs, the higher your premium. So like I said, with the IPAM program, it is scalable. So we work with employers who maybe have nothing in place to start with, through to some large organisations who are very mature in terms of safety, and we're always able to review and identify opportunities to improve. So just because you may already have a system in place, it doesn't mean it can't improve. So there's always opportunities to look at that and see, can we improve? So like you see there, we can go from starting, what we call, this is a symmetry scoring, from starting where possibly we've got nothing in place,
through to a resilient, which is normally best practice, top of the safety tree, if you like. The different tools that we use to review your systems, one of these is what we call the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit. So this is actually available on the website. So anyone can go onto the Worksafe Queensland website and do this themselves to get an idea as to where they currently stand. With the advisor would come out and go through this with you and tailor an action plan for you based on what comes through. So this is focused more on your smaller, less mature, safety mature businesses who maybe don't have a lot in place. And like I said, it's free, it's on the website, you can access it, or we can work through it as advisors with you. This next tool is more for the larger, maybe have a little bit more in place. It's a bit more involved, this tool that we use. You can see there we've got the 9 elements that we cover off on, which should form part of a good safety management system. So from management commitment through to total worker health and all in between. And you can see on the right-hand side, you've got examples of supporting documentation that you would expect. So if we're going out to review a system, it's not an audit because we're there to review it with you. We might ask you to show us an example of your training plan. So if you have someone new coming on board, how do you organise that? What kind of training do you provide? When we think of hazards and risks, we mostly tend to think about the physical. This tool here, the People at Work tool, is a risk assessment tool survey used for psychosocial injuries. So this is available too on the website. Anyone can access it, it's free. And as part of the service that we would provide, we would probably go through this with your organisation as well. So it's all there. A lot of the times, unless you've been on the website, you're not aware of what's already available for you. But obviously mental health is a huge thing at the moment that is an emerging trend, and we really need to address that as part of our holistic risk management process. The other part that we look at is the culture, the safety culture of an organisation. So it's all good and well having some policies and procedures and a safety management system that looks great, sitting on the shelf, you've paid tens of thousands of dollars for. How does that translate to what's actually happening on the shop floor? If you have a policy or procedure that says do it one way, but we walk out on the shop floor and see that people are doing whatever they want, there's no, doesn't seem to be working, well, clearly it's lost in translation. So we need to look at just ensuring that our culture meets what we're trying to do. And so we look at doing that part of it. So this measure of safety culture, it's currently in its pilot phase. It's collaboration between a number of universities, including Curtin and UQ, and it's rolling out at the moment. So that may well be available down the track on the website, where employers can go on and actually go through it themselves. Or we can incorporate it as part of the service that we provide at IPAM. And again, we tailor the program to meet the specific needs of the employees that we're working with. So it's all about making sure that we're focusing the attention on the areas that need to be focused on. These are codes of practice. You've probably seen them. Hopefully you've seen them. These are all codes of practice relevant to the various industries there that we have. So construction, you can see all the ticks that cover the possible codes of practice that would be relevant for that industry. With the codes of practice, they tell you what you need to be doing, at the very least. Okay, they're a really good resource for you to use. They're a guide. However, you need to be meeting that level. You can go above, but for the time being, you need to at least meet that level of compliance with the code. So it wouldn't hurt to make yourself aware of what the codes are and which ones might be relevant for the business that you're in. So I just wanted to quickly, have I got time into? Just on time. So this is a 5 minutes.
Yeah, that might take us over.
Okay. That's okay, I'll come back to that. So this was just a short video on an employee who's been through the program, had some really good outcomes. If you go onto the website, we've got a number of success stories that you can look at, videos of different employees who've been through the program. And like I said, you've got some fairly large organisations who've been through the program, through to your mum and dad's smaller businesses. So it's there for everyone. Oh, here we go. So if you are wishing to access this free, fully funded program, and you'd like an advisor to come out and work with you and help you identify opportunities to improve, all you need to do is go onto the Worksafe Queensland website, type in IPAM in the search box, then click on register now, and one of us, possibly myself, will be in touch with you. So I'm one of the team leaders within the unit, and I've got a group of about 10 to 12 advisors who work in the various regions, who I then allocate these files out to. So if you do contact us, I'll be the one probably that will give you a call to have a discussion about what it is that you need and make sure that we can tailor the program to what you need. And that's it. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for that, Richard. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Richard. Look, I can't emphasise just how important it is. It's part of the basic governance of business. Get it right. It's not hard. Move on into making money. This will help. We'll have some Q&A a bit later on, and we'll get Richard to answer your questions. So start thinking about what you would like to ask Richard in that regard, but really do appreciate that. It was very clearly explained. That was wonderful. Now, of course, unfortunately, sadly, no matter how well the work health and safety program has been implemented, the nature of business is people do get injured. It might not be a fault of the business, it might be through some totally left field, unrecognisable incident, but people get injured. And we have a responsibility in business to those people to get them back into work that is useful and meaningful, and to look after those people. And that is a very specific job of the Queensland Government under WorkCover, to ensure that the programs are in place. And a lot of businesses don't understand. I did a survey of industry some years ago. Actually, I was working with AI Group, and we interviewed about 85 businesses. And of all of the red tape issues that those businesses had, WorkCover was the one that caused the most frustration and bitterness. And that's because people just didn't have systems in place or didn't understand the implications on it. And it is so important. So don't get frustrated in business, get it right first. To hear all about that, please welcome Michael O'Brien.
Thank you very much, Ian. And what I'd like to say is acknowledge Richard. I do refer, as part of Chamber of Commerce, do refer a lot of businesses Richard's way, and can acknowledge that that service is a free service, and any one of our members who ever engaged in that service and had outcomes from that service have nothing but good things to say about the service. And if you're ever going to start anywhere, do IPAM. Please start there, because then you'll know what you don't know, and start there. Then you can go, oh, where do I get the resources, or where do I get the help? Bring Chamber of Commerce, and we can help you there. So I'm here to talk about a service we provide, and we partner with the Office of Industrial Relations. They give us funding for this service. And this service, first of all, I'd like to read out what Paul said when we've been around for 160 years. So Chamber of Commerce has been around before Queensland was a state, so, which is always a good fun fact. And we provide more than just, advocating on business. We've got HR experts to help with your HR compliance. In addition to that, we partner with the Office of Industrial Relations to provide a free workers' comp helpline to employers. This is employer line. Queensland Council of Unions run a line, but that's for employees. So this is particularly for employers. So they provide us funding to partner with business or to help business free. So any Queensland business can contact us and you can get someone like myself. So we've got the best HR experts and health and safety experts in the business to engage you in that service. There's a lot of things we do around that. So I'll just give a stat. Last quarter, 104 members contacted us, 14 non-members, and some trends. I like to say Richard's saving me some good time here, mental health. And I'm quickly going to touch on people at work in a sec. But it's regarding that complexity between personal mental health issues impacting on the workplace and workplace issues. The amount of contacts we're getting about that and the complexity around that is phenomenal. And the other area is construction. So that's where IPAM comes in, and Richard's helping me out here. When we say training, what is your workplace practices? Can you demonstrate what you've done and haven't done? So something that most businesses, small businesses we talk about don't have is something like, for example, safe work method statements. That demonstrates that you have a process about how a particular task is done, and then having proof that you've shown and the person's been trained in that. It's just something simple to do, but you'll be surprised how often that doesn't happen. And what that in turn is reduce risk, and that in turn reduce any payout, common law, or even the risk of a work cover claim and the amount of payout of work cover claims by demonstrating those type of things. When you contact our line, we don't just provide advice on the work cover part of it. We provide advice on the whole employment relationship. So what you're not getting just work cover helpline or work cover experts, you're getting employment relations experts. So there's the employment on that as well. So not just what you need to do about getting that person back to work, suitable duties, talking to a doctor, but what else practices and policies in the workplace should you have in place to either reduce next time or to reduce your risk industrially through fair work, work cover, discrimination, all those other factors as well. So we advise on that and can help you on that. And I want to reiterate, this is a no-cost service. It's a real service, and I'm going to show you there's a lot of free resources there, real resources developed by our experts on policies and procedures, risk assessments, toolkits, they're all there. So part of that, and I want to cover mental health. Mental health is a huge risk, and why it's a huge risk? Because it's the most complex thing for employers to deal with. And it really comes back to one person in the workplace, and that's the manager, the person's direct manager, and how well they engage with their employees. The number one thing to do, there's two things. One from the manager, and that is engage with employees so they can tell you if there's a problem. Nearly every time there's a serious issue, it's because the person didn't speak up and say, I'm struggling, early on in the piece, and then we can fix it through, there's lots of things you can do, mental health plans, and that's about home, work life, doctor, all those type of things, early on in the piece to help the person at work. It's too late then, and it's very costly and hard to get that person to re-engage in the workplace in a positive way. The second is the organisation, and I only want to cover on one point of this part, and that's promote. Promote, promote, promote. Start awareness in your workplace, start talking about it, and that's about mental health. And this is where people at work come in. But the risk management process, the one thing you need to do is promote and do this risk management process, get onto the people at work and do this. Mental health is coming. If you haven't experienced it, it's coming. Because there's people already in your workplace or in workplaces that you're dealing with struggling with it. And if they're not engaging in the workplace, it will impact them at some point. And what does that do? It impacts your workplace, it impacts the people around them, and it possibly then creates mental health issues for the people around them, and it will impact your productivity. People at work, there's a lot of information up there and I don't expect you to read it all, but people at work, and I keep saying this, it's a free program. When you get on there, it's more than just information on a website, it's tools. There's things to download, practical things to do, so please do that. And what I want people to do to take away from here is there's this service, IPAM or the CCIQ's Work Cover Helpline, when you're going out engaging with businesses, to mention our business, to mention that there's this place you can go to ask questions. And not just about work cover, so we're talking about injury prevention as well. So if someone's ill and injured in the workplace and it's not related to work cover, give us a call. Because it's still about that rehab and return to work process, or from an employment point of view, managing that person's long-term illness that we really can help you with and reduce your risk and reduce any either turning into work cover or any employment-related, fair work-related matters as well. So one thing, there is a new online training for safe and healthy working from home. Why I put that up, guys? So this is on OIR Safe or Worksafe Queensland. Is that obviously everyone knows it's increasing and it's getting bigger and bigger. It's an issue for everyone, guys. The home office is your workplace. So if you're a business, that's your workplace too. You need to make sure it's safe. What seat are they sitting on? Are they sitting correctly? Where's the screen height? All these things. There's a risk. What happens if someone trips down the stairs at their home because a piece of carpet was there? It's work cover, or potentially work cover. So you need to do a risk assessment. We've got free resources on Chamber of Commerce to do that risk assessment, to get a working from home agreement. What is work and what isn't work? Have that discussion. This is a huge risk at the moment, so we're really encouraging you guys as business support or businesses in the Queensland economy to be contacting us to start working on these things. So as part of our free service, we have a number of free resources, and you can go to CCIQ services at workers' compensation. But what I'll do, I'll provide a list of these to Ian, and you can provide the links on the website for people to access and download. You don't need to do anything but other than find it and click a link. And there's a whole return to work toolkit in there. There's a mental health support plan that I've developed of personally myself. I've worked in the charity and social services industry nearly all my life as a HR business partner. So complex mental health has been where I really started, concentrating my career on, and complex communication and conflict in the workplace. I'm a nationally accredited mediator, so that complex issues in the workplace is where I've always, the last 15 years, really focused on. And so this is developed as part of that experience. So we do have another policies, procedures you can purchase, but really want to encourage people to contact a team, even if it's not workplace health and safety or workers' compensation. Please contact us. We will try and help you and provide some free initial advice any way we can to businesses, because we want to engage in businesses. Chamber of Commerce has, in the last 12 months, undertaken a huge change management process. We're building ourselves up to support businesses in a better way and create a more successful environment. And that is including in the advocacy area, the HR area, and the sort of green space. So EcoBiz is a program like IPAM, no cost, where they go into businesses, coach you to reduce your electricity, waste, and water costs. So once again, contact Chamber of Commerce, contact me. If you contact these lines, there's lots of help out there. Start asking questions. So that's the end of that initial part. A couple of things I do want to promote is that cyber health. So Chamber of Commerce has got funding from the government and partnered with an IT company called Red to provide free cyber health advice and security and processes and audits to Queensland businesses. So just go onto our website and you can get a free cyber health audit. We've also got things coming up, like we've been recently released a paper on domestic violence in the workplace. It's a huge issue and another emerging issue. So please go on there and you can read that as well. And currently, the only last thing I really want to touch on is that, guys, we've currently got the ear of Department of Health Queensland. And I can see our advocates and I can hear them and I get input into them and give them feedback from businesses about what we need in the COVID space. What do businesses need now? And I can answer one word: clarity. 2, open up. In the next few months, what do you guys need to be able to operate your businesses better? So I can tell you now that we are providing hard feedback, advocating hard on your, and there have been changes. I can guarantee you that the recent roadmap, we asked for it, we got it. We're trying as hard as we can to get as much clarity as we need in Queensland, and we'll keep doing that. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Michael. It is such an important area for consideration, and I'm pleased that you did raise so emphatically about mental health, which is probably the highest risk at this point of time. People have been disrupted, people are going back to strange environments, the rules of the game have changed, and we have to consider that. So that is mental health from stress in work, it is mental health from bullying, from sexual harassment. All of those things now come under work health and safety and legal responsibilities of the employer. So it is critical that we understand this stuff. I really appreciate that you put that so clearly and simply to us. Well done, Michael. That was fantastic. But health and safety isn't just from government. Health and safety really is driven by business. And I've had the great pleasure in my work to work with enterprises whose entire focus, whose vision is around providing a better, safer work environment within particular industry sectors. And they have developed technologies and innovations, really understanding what the market need is. And our next speaker is the director of one such business, founder of one such business, and it's been a pleasure working with them through the Advancing Champion Enterprise Network over the last almost 2 years now, I think. So would you believe I have had many a video conference, but it's been probably almost 2 years since I've had any physical contact because of COVID. So how wonderful to have with us today Narelle and Davis Blumentals, and it is Davis Blumentals who is going to tell us all about the wonderful business Certify network, which is actually part of Vilmera Investments, and we're going to hear warts and all how they got this wonderful business up to where it is. So welcome and thank you very much for that, Davis.
Thank you. Is this thing live? It is. Well, this is going to be a little bit of a walk down memory lane for me. The journey started quite a number of years ago, and I think like a lot of businesses start, it starts with what looks like an opportunity, and then you get sucked in and you end up chasing the rabbit down the burrow and hoping you eventually catch it. Well, I think we might be almost at that stage. Where we are today is that currently we have about 100 construction sites in and around Canberra where workers, when they arrive on site, most of them are residential sites, so they're pretty straightforward, just houses being built. But we're also working with commercial sites, which are a lot more complicated. And the workers, before they come in, they have to be registered. That means that if they walk through the site and they don't register, they're trespassing. So they've got to register, they've got to provide details of copies of their white card and show some evidence that they are familiar with the risks associated with the work that they're involved with. And then every day when they come in, they have to scan the QR code and sign in. And as part of that process, they have to complete a simple safety checklist. And it's something it's not one size fits all. A carpenter that's installing kitchen cupboards hasn't got the same risks as a roofer that's going to be clambering around on a roof, especially in the early hours in the morning in a place like the ACT where there's problems with frost and whatever. So that's where we are today. This is the culmination of the work we've done over the last 2 or 3 years in pivoting our business and working out what the industry really needs and what it should have and what can be commercially successful. Our journey started back in 2006. We've been a Microsoft partner for many years, and we were at the time building online insurance systems. And insurance, as you're aware, is a very excellent way of transferring risk. And it seemed like a good idea at the time that we would build a risk management system. And to that end, we consulted with Kevin Knight, who's a man who lives here in Brisbane and who was the father of the AS, the 4360 risk management standard, and who ended up being the chairman of the committee that produced the ISO 31000 standard, 31000 standard in 2009. So we thought it was just a good idea. We were involved in insurance. We thought, well, maybe we would have another product. What would that be? Oh, I know, it'll be a risk management system. Why would you look at risk management? Well, arguably, if you're managing risk, you'd have to be a better prospect for an insurance company than someone who doesn't manage risk. So that was the rationale. Bottom line was that we didn't really analyse the market, we just launched straight into it. We ended up getting a few customers, some fairly well-known customers like Commonwealth Treasury, where we got through our connections with insurance, with the National Institute of Dramatic Art, where they have about 200 students doing amazingly crazy things, and they were managing risks on site. And also we had the University of Queensland, where they used our software to teach risk management in what was, I think it's now called well, it was a Department of Geography, but I think now it's something to do with earth sciences and so on. So, but commercially it wasn't a success. We struggled to get customers. Why? Because risk management is actually at the bottom of the list. Whenever they're in any organisation, there's always shortage of resources. Activities that generate income and reduce costs are always ahead of what would be nice to have, which is managing risk. And so in 2016, when we were wondering, well, where do we go with this risk management, lo and behold, McDonald Jones Homes contacted us and said, could you build us a system? And we thought, right, we've been at this now for 10 years, we know what we're talking about, we're familiar with all the standards, how hard would that be? Let's build a system. Okay, where do we get a spec? Well, the spec, housing industry, safety pack, a subby pack. How hard is that? Not very hard at all. We produced an excellent web application, only to find that nobody wanted to use it. we had a passionate man who was the WHS manager at McDonald Jones, but when we actually started talking to other builders, oh yeah, the subby pack does that, we only want this. And so we struggled with it. At the same time, when we started asking subcontractors to log in to the portal and upload their documents and do whatever, we were lucky to get 25% response. If we bullied them a bit, we got it up to about 50%. And when I say we bullied them, when the builder bullied them by threatening to delay payments and withhold work orders, we got a better response. But we only ever managed to get up to 50%. And so there we were, running a business. We didn't feel we were adding value, and we certainly weren't creating any goodwill. And so it was really a moment of truth for us as to, well, do we give up? Well, it's being somewhat stubborn, I refused to give up. So we looked at what we were actually doing, and the bottom line was that we had to rethink, to separate what we were actually trying to do. What was the purpose of the subby pack? Now, the objective of the subby pack is safety, but it's actually got very little to do with safety. The bottom line is that it's about covering the builder's arse when it comes to risk, being able to show due diligence that they've done something. But given the fact that builders, residential builders in particular, are only on site for a very small part of the time, their site supervisors typically look after up to 20 sites at any one time, how on earth could they actually manage safety on site, given that that's their primary responsibility as a principal contractor? So we said, right, well, let's split the thing into two. There's two aspects to it. Businesses need to manage their risk, and to do that, they need to make sure that if they're using subcontractors, and construction is a project-based industry, so people come together in different combinations depending on the project. And so it is important that they manage the risk. And for that reason, we said, right, well, let's keep managing business risks separate from safety, because the two are only slightly related. So we introduced online period subcontract agreements for builders to qualify the subcontractors and to make sure that subcontractors were insured, had contractor licenses and so on. And then on the safety side, we said, right, well, this is actually, safety is very little to do with the builder, has very little to do with the subcontractor, it's all about the worker. And so for that reason, we worked on developing the on-site app. I mentioned that for builders, we took away the best we could from the subby pack in terms of understanding the obligations, understanding the reporting requirements, the regulatory requirements, and gave the builders a solution. But we didn't say that was about safety. That is about managing business risk. For subcontractors, we looked hard at how do we add value to the subcontractor. Because if you're going to be asking subcontractors to cooperate, you've got to answer the question, what's in it for me? If you can't answer that question, you're going to get a very poor response. And better still, it works when you've actually got an agreement. So if you say to the builder, you must use written agreements, and it's an obligation here in Queensland with the QBCC, it's about managing the risk. Why would you do business with someone if you haven't got a written agreement with them? Most disputes arise out of lack of documentation. There's not a written agreement. It's so much better if the builder can turn around and say, well, look, we've got a dispute. Let's have a look at the document. What did we both agree? and then the emotion goes out of the dispute and you end up with no dispute, invariably. So with subcontractors, we said, right, well, instead of chasing them once or twice a year when things happen, let's give them a monthly statement of where they're up to with their compliance. Help them share their documents, because they work not just for one builder or for one principal contractor, they can work for lots of different companies. They can share those documents. From a safety point of view, don't confuse trades. Every trade, and there's about 50 or 60 trades involved in building a house, every trade is different. Respect the trade. Talk to them. Don't ask them to provide information that is irrelevant. And that's what happens with a one-size-fits-all solution invariably. You end up asking for things that are a bit of a nonsense, and that's when you will definitely not get a proper response. And then give them other tools. Help them give them a tool that enables them to maintain employee training registers. Well, what's the benefit of an employee training register? Well, if you're a contractor and you want to grow your business and you have to answer the question, what is your capability? How good would it be to look at a training register and say, hey, look at my guys, look at their training, look at their qualifications, look at their experience. And then there's the other aspects like helping to keep track of plant and equipment, servicing schedules, electrical test and tag, which is an obligation. We know that a lot of, one of the first things that these safety inspectors go for is electrical test and tag, so just avoids that problem. And then of course linking hazardous substances. Every trade has some hazardous substances. Even a brickie will have something like petrol or whatever as a hazardous substances, and we link that back to the global source for safety data sheets. Now, from the worker, in pivoting our business, we recognise that we really have a three-sided market. We have builders, we have contractors, but our workers are also part of our community. And this is the challenge moving forward. How do we communicate with that community? And again, we've got to answer the question, what's in it for me? As a worker, why would you want to cooperate and scan QR codes, etc., etc.? And the answer is, well, we make that information available to them. We don't charge contractors and workers. And what they have is carrying around on their phone is a record of who they are, what they've achieved, and so on. And that is transportable. The reason we have network in our name is because it is a network. It is a network where records are shared. Entities are connected with each other. Workers are connected to contractors. Contractors are connected to principal contractors. It is a real network that is constantly changing. So that's been our journey, and from a business point of view, or someone building a business, what did we learn? As always, the bleeding obvious. Analyse the market. So there we were back in 2016. We got greedy. We got a request. We saw an opportunity. We thought we could build a business where we could just clip the ticket and we'd be making money. No, it didn't work that way. Test the assumptions. We could have tested. It would have slowed us down a bit and taken the edge off my enthusiasm, but if we'd tested it, we would have avoided a lot of mistakes and heartache. So do this to verify the business model. The other thing that I thought I'd like to share with you is that I've been in the technology industry for many, many years, and up till fairly recently, I assumed that technology was part of the magic sauce. You could really look at it and you say, well, I'm smarter than anybody else, and I'm clever and I can put together something amazingly different. No. Everybody's got technology. Everybody's an expert now. And things like apps, everybody's got an app, and if you haven't, well, that's a problem, but that's your problem. And being part of the Microsoft ecosystem, we embrace their philosophy of the citizen developer. So if you're smart enough to do some amazing things with spreadsheets and Word documents and so on, you're smart enough to build systems providing you understand business processes and so on. The tools are there. Our biggest challenge moving forward is a challenge to change the culture. It's not just builders, but we know that every business pays lip service to managing risk. Very few people actually do it. They don't understand. It's not a topic they want to engage in. And for the worker and safety, my reading of statistics show that ever since the WHS Act was introduced, first few years the injuries went down, but from since then nothing has changed. So what's going to change in the workplace? There's only one thing: behavioural safety. It's the idea that when someone comes on site, they realise in the construction industry they're in a dangerous environment. They've got to stop, forget the traffic jam they've been through, the argument with the wife, whatever. You're on site, everything changes on a construction site every day, or it should. Look around, and that is how you will impact safety. That's our story.
Thank you so much, Davis. Isn't it incredible how the very same things we look at for work health and safety, the compliance, the planning, the governance, the measuring, are exactly the same things that are required to establish a business and to make it work. And we seem to forget that. And what really came out of today from our three speakers is that this isn't just about compliance. It is not about whether we might get fined or not. We certainly have got those legal obligations and responsibilities, but if we can change culture in health and safety, if we can start to make businesses realise that health and safety is about making money, it is about increasing the productivity, it is about ensuring that there is that ongoing safe work environment for people and that they're not going to end up in courts with big fines. It is about their business, and if we can get that culture to flow through from the top to the workers and back up again, that everybody is a part of it, then we are going to reduce the risk and start making better businesses. So I am so delighted. I'd love to ask each of our speakers to come out here for a few moments while we do a quick Q&A. Come and grab a seat. You grab a stool. There's a couple over here. Just grab a stool each for you guys. Oh, there he is. John, where's John? He's not here, Stephen. You're our man. Just you can do the mic thing, mate. No, just take the microphone. That's all we need. Okay, so we've got three experts in their own field, all here to do with about making sure people are safe in the workplace. Who's got a question? Beth, thank you very much.
This is actually from Vicky out in Western Queensland. Will IPAM go out to Western Queensland?
Yep, so we've got advisors across Queensland. So, yeah, certainly if she wants to register on the website, we'll get in touch and have a chat.
So the answer is a definitive yes. It doesn't matter where in Queensland you are covered. Wonderful. Any other questions?
Hi. So
You spoke about changing the culture, right? What are the traits that you see in those business owners that are taking this seriously, that are taking this as a mindset change and using your services? Like, what do you see in them that's making them?
Okay, I'm going to pass this around because I'm sure everybody has some feedback on this question.
Absolutely. What trends I'm seeing? Safety's no different. So safety culture is no different to a good workplace culture. It's the same thing. So it's about leaders. It's about senior leaders. It's about understanding that every single person in a workplace has a responsibility in those. And it's linked closely to HR, as in every single system, performance management, policy, should reflect those practices from top to bottom and have those feedback mechanisms. That's one thing. Also, the awareness that talent retention is becoming a huge, massive issue. And guess what? A safe work culture is an attraction. And people will be looking for that. If you can promote that, that's another area that you do that. But I would really say having those behavioural things in place is about the whole culture and about top to bottom.
Thanks, Michael. Michael's kind of covered a lot of what I was going to say, but for me, probably the biggest thing I see is the difference between those employers at management level who just pay lip service to safety and those who demonstrate safety in their everyday actions. So leading by example. And that's something that we talk about a lot. If if management's not committed to safety, it's going to be very hard to implement any kind of safety across the organisation. So for me, that's key. And I've seen a lot of employers, potentially if they're going through the program, they need to be engaged, because at the end of the day, you can only do so much. If the employer's engaged from the top down and up, from the bottom up, then you're going to get that change.
Yes. Look, my comment is strictly in relation to the construction industry. Enforcement. That's the only thing that's going to work. It's the only thing that's changing the culture at the moment. When a safety inspector issues an improvement notice, they now, I believe, have to issue a fine, a penalty notice as well. That does work. Unfortunately, given the culture of trades around Australia, that's about the only thing that is working.
And that disappoints me immensely to hear that, Davis. And I think that's so arcade. It's got to change. We've got to do something to turn that around.
Sorry, I guess just in response to that, I recently had an employer. It's Safe Work Month, and we ran a bit of a presentation with one of the employers I ran through the program, a large organisation down on the Gold Coast in the construction industry, who already had some pretty robust safety management systems in place. But again, they wanted to take it to that next level. And so management, from the top down, they were fully committed to making those changes and not being worried about having potential gaps in their system being identified. They wanted that so they could make those improvements. So for me, it was coming from the top, showing that they were keen to do something.
And it's already emphasised evidence. I mean, if you have the evidence there, you're 90% of the way. It must be so frustrating for inspectors to go in there and hear the same, but we provide the training and we look after them and it's part of our culture. If you haven't got the evidence, it didn't happen. And that's the basis of work health and safety, isn't it? Make it part of the culture to ensure that there is evidence for everywhere, and it will then rub off. It will become part of the culture. Peter, you had a question.
I have a question. With workplace health and safety, as a company, an organisation grows, so the workplace health and safety elements have to change and grow as well. Now, with the management, do you find that they appreciate that they have to learn how to manage a different size organisation and put those safety things in place, or do they just try and do the same thing with more people?
Who would like to address that one? That's probably yeah, Davis, where you go.
Look, we have a number of customers who want to grow and build their businesses, and as they do that, they think about sustainability, they think about quality issues, and they think about safety at the same time. And it's really refreshing to work with those guys because they are interested in change. It's like with anything, if you actually look at the international standard for risk management, it starts at the top. All risk management starts with the guys at the top making the decision and then deciding what they want to achieve from the organisation.
Thanks, Davis. And I can see itching for this one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We deal a lot with employers who have maybe grown exponentially over a period of time where what they had in place when they started in terms of safety was enough. But as they've grown, their safety systems haven't kept up with that. And that's something that we deal with a lot and manage that to set that expectation of well, that might have been fine 5 years ago, whatever it might be, when you had 2 or 3 guys. You've now grown, you've got 20 people on the shop floor, whatever it might be, and helping them understand that that level of responsibility has increased as well.
And Michael has to have a go.
Yeah, it's about embracing the ability for the leadership team to engage in constant reviews. So it depends how successful the business are. If you want, a lot of people just grow, and then there's all these risks and they have to plug holes. Successful businesses go, okay, it's changing. We've got a strategic plan, business plan, operation plan, team plans, all the way from top to bottom, and keep reviewing those. And I can tell you the one thing to success from embedding a safety culture, and that's where HR comes in, and we do it a lot, is embracing feedback. It's top-down management to say, we want the hard feedback, and guess what, we're going to do something about it, and proving it. Here's the results, here's what we've done, and here's what we're going to change.
Thank you, Michael. Imagine if at every single board and every single management meeting there was this thing on the agenda that took as much time, thought and effort as marketing and finance, called work health and safety culture. Wouldn't that make a difference to business? Who else? Oh, over here. Here.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the talks, very educational. With respect to psychological safety, how big a challenge is it to change the subculture, particularly for young apprentices come onto a work site and the experienced hands? We do it like this, and can be psychological intimidation, and so there's an unsafe culture from the subculture.
Thanks, Richard. Who'd like to answer that one? Okay, well, of course.
Actually, yeah, that's a good question. In different industries have different things. But let's say for the construction industry, I will say, similar to what my colleague said, it's about if people have seen it happen in their workplace and seen the consequences, they change. How to drive that? Well, it's about leadership, and it takes a lot of effort. But you'll get immediate change if people have seen the consequences and seen that, and the companies have been fined, have seen what they need to do. Then it happens in the construction industry. But that's where unions have a good place in that. That's why unionism is strong in there, because they have a good place to push that safety element and do help within that sphere. So yeah.
In the interest of time, unfortunately, we'll have to wind that up, but I really think we need to balance what Davis was talking about with the stick with a lot more carrot. Yeah, I think if we can not only shame the enterprises that fail, but we can reward and recognise those that are doing a good job and hold them up in society, then we'll start to get cultural change. So please again give a round of applause to our wonderful speakers today. This has been most informative and helpful. Thank you very much. Now we have got a few minutes left here, and we have got opportunity to hear from Howard. Where's Howard at? Oh, right down the very front there. Now, Howard's just got some funding. And we were having this conversation earlier today that in Australia there are limited industry sectors that really offer an unfair advantage, and Queensland is probably in a prime spot to take advantage of that unfair advantage in the marketplace. And some of them are around, because we're great in resources, around METs, around the mining engineering technologies. Some of it is around the agriculture, but we've got a very limited resource of available land, narrow belt, and we have become very good in a lot of areas at environmental technologies. But it hasn't been pushed enough. You're hearing a lot of lip service. We're starting to get serious about it. Howard is putting together a network across Queensland of enterprises to build up this environmental technology sector, and please tell us a little bit about it. Right? Come talk to us for a couple of minutes. Thanks, Howard.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Sight Unseen, and not on the agenda, so thanks for that, Ian. Yeah, not so much environmental technologies, but really environmental behaviour. And I was wondering this morning when I was sitting listening to the other speakers how it might connect in with this stuff around, really, it was the business risk. So today's events, this week's events federally, next week's events internationally around climate change are going to change forever what it is that's going to put pressure on businesses. So that risk, that business risk, is not attended to, and then there's things that need to be done. So I've been funded, or my organisation, Neilsen Company Consulting, has been funded by Advanced Queensland for the last couple of years to set up the Sustainable Startup Hub. And the original idea was to help startup businesses to have a very much more environmental base. Why was that? So we foresaw that there would be a time, and there currently is still a time, where businesses are being requested to demonstrate they've got an environmental management system in place before they can actually tender for certain jobs. And of course there's the community perception now. You can see that whole thing has changed over the period. So what we've spent some time on with the Sustainable Startup Hub and with the businesses that we're working with there is the sustainability roadmap and a journey companion with that, which I've got here in hard copy as well. But what we're trying to do is to say, if you want to operate out of a more environmentally sustainable, more climate smart base, how do you know where you are? So there's a roadmap survey that enables that to happen. That links into some resources, and some of those resources are around sustainable procurement. So as a business, you can foresee in the not too distant future, if you want to do business in a big value cycle in the circular economy, people are going to be asking the question as to the extent to which you're following environmental guidelines. So the roadmap enables you to do that. The procurement policy enables you, there's a checklist of questions based on the science around if we were to make decisions today, say in the precinct, about a change of furniture, how would we know what furniture to purchase that was environmentally sustainable? So our tool, which we're sort of launching this week, testing out with a few bods, we'll be able to make a decision based on that background. And the nice thing to say, I think, too, is that there's some people in this room that we're working with on things like this. So Paul from CCIQ, Chamber of Commerce, we've been working with Sustainable Business Precincts, another meeting next week on that. we've had a chat with some people in the head office of CCIQ around working with the EcoBiz, with Tim O'Dowd and others, and also the Sustainable Business Solutions people. So they're co-hosting an exercise with us next week with a group of 30 sustainable businesses out in the Moreton Bay region. We also work with RDA Moreton Bay, in particular with the Sustainable Toolkit. So I guess I've probably taken my 2 minutes, if not a little bit more than that, but just to say, if you've got a business that you work with, or you are a business yourself, and you'd like to find out more about how to get onto this roadmap, then have a chat to us. I've got cards today, we can get in touch, and there's a very, very low, in some cases, no cost attached to doing that. Okay?
Thank you very much for that, Howard. Well, we draw to the end of the formal proceedings today. Has everybody learned something? Or put it this way, put up your hand if you haven't learned something. I hope I don't see any hands, because I've certainly learned a lot today. It's been fascinating. Does anybody have any comments in closing about today, about what they'd like in the future? No, because it's lunchtime and you can probably smell the pizza there. So with that, I'd like to again thank TAFE Small Business Solutions and to thank Regional Development Australia Brisbane for the wonderful partnering with Advance Queensland to provide these Expressway events. Thank you for the people in the region for coming into this meeting and joining in today. It's been terrific to have you along, and we certainly hope to see a lot more people from the regions joining in. Our plan is to take physical meetings more into regions as we can. Thank you very much. I hope you are able to pass on the good word, the learnings of today through your networks and communities. The recording of today's event will be on or linked to the Expressway LinkedIn site. Do refer people to that, and we'll make sure that we get this message out as far and wide as possible. With that, have a lovely afternoon. Please come and join for some lunch and networking.